So, Cadman, we get a lot of cases that involve allegations of sexual assault or sexual misconduct. And one of the tactics that I've seen used by law enforcement in all branches has been the concept of a pretext text or phone call. And a lot of people think, hey, this is just text saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. But in reality, it's a scripted trap where it gets the service member to admit things that can be conceived or interpreted as an admission of guilt. Have you experienced that in your practice?
I have, both on the defense side and as the government counsel.
Well, what is a pretext call or text?
So basically, it's an alleged victim who's acting at the behest of law enforcement. The idea is to have that alleged victim contact the accused person directly and try to elicit something that's useful for the case, something that's useful for law enforcement, that helps their investigation or helps the prosecution later.
All right, and is this done by telephone or text or both? What do you see most often?
So a lot of times it's going to be a telephone call. I think that the past shows that that's probably the most effective way to get someone to admit to something, because they feel a false sense of privacy that they don't really have.
Okay, well, what I've noticed on most phone calls is law enforcement doesn't report. They have another person sitting in there taking notes. And that's really frustrating as a defense counsel, right? Because, you know, a recorded conversation is much more accurate than a special agent who's trying to convict my client saying what they recall in a conversation.
Yeah, that's exactly right, because you're going to be missing those context clues. You're going to be missing tone of voice, all of those very important things to contextualize that conversation later. But the only context is going to be things that are not good for the client.
Look, and they don't pull these calls out of their fourth point of contact, right? These are pre-scripted calls. They've briefed the alleged victim. They talk about certain facts. They talk about certain elements that they want to draw out. They frame the prompts like, say, well, you didn't tell me no, or you didn't stop when I said no, or you knew that I was drunk and didn't know what was going on. These kind of leading questions from the alleged victim to the person who's being accused. And then they coach them on the phone calls to make that statement and be silent, because they know that silence is extraordinarily uncomfortable for somebody who's just had an allegation made against them, right? So what should someone do if they get a pretext call? And let me back up one step. Most people know that they've had an encounter that didn't go great, right? It was not their best sexual encounter of their lifetime. Maybe it's foggy. Maybe someone said that, hey, you were acting strange last night. Or maybe there's some allegation that they've heard through the rumor mill that somebody's upset with them. So most of these pretext calls are not out of the blue. So when somebody gets a call or a text from a bad sexual experience, what should they do?
I mean, the simple answer is the same as if you get pulled into a police station. Remain silent. Because you always have the right to remain silent. Whereas you don't have as many rights when it comes to talking to another civilian, which is one reason that law enforcement likes these types of tactics, because they get to kind of inroad around Article 31 and Miranda rights. You still have the right to simply stay silent. If you get a phone call like this, you don't have to provide any answer, because you don't understand in the context of the law that a seemingly innocuous answer can actually cause real problems for the case down the road.
Yeah, I've seen it countless times where someone says, I'm sorry, and then in closing argument, the government prosecutor's up there saying, he admitted it. Look, he said he was sorry. And, you know, there could be dozens of reasons why someone says they're sorry, from, you know, not being able to perform adequately, to having a bad night, to, you know, really being disappointed that they hurt someone's feelings, right? Left without saying goodbye. There could be countless numbers of reasons. So my recommendation is If you've had one of these bad experiences, do not text, do not call, do not do anything. If you think you're under investigation, have no contact with the individual who would be accusing you. Zero. Especially if there's an MPO in place. All right. And I've seen people go to the command, have them lift the MPO so that the accused believes that everything is okay, engages in communication with the individual with whom there was an MPO, has this pretextual call, and then the MPO is reinstated. That's just terrible, right? That really sets a client up for failure. Now, there can be so much interaction between law enforcement and the alleged victim that she becomes a de facto agent. So that's something that you need to share with your legal team so that they can do that evaluation. Because if in fact the individual becomes a de facto agent, then the Article 31B rights apply, and they would have had to have been advised if they're considered a de facto agent. So what should someone do if they've already given this pretext call or pretext text? Should they try to clean it up, or should they remain silent?
Complete silence. Don't try to clean it up. That can open a can to a whole lot of other issues for you legally. What you need to do is you need to call us. You need to get us on the case so that we can start pulling this information, seeing where it came from, where it's recorded, how it's recorded, and what we can do about it in the case, because we start doing that legal analysis immediately as to whether this is actual evidence or it's something that we're going to be able to defeat.
Absolutely. And we'd want to contextualize all the messages, so don't delete anything. We'd want to contextualize the history of the texts over time. We'd want to see if there are other times in which the individual made similar comments that were not after there was some type of allegation. We'd want authentication and completeness of the text messages. We'd want to look at whether or not there was this agency relationship with the alleged victim. And then we would want to take a look at any jurisdictional recording rules that there may have been if this was done, if it was recorded. If you think you're facing a pretext call or text, don't engage, right? And if you've already engaged and you're facing allegations of sexual assault, give us a call. We're your warrior advocates. You defend the nation, we defend you.